For nearly 3 years, the second Saturday of each month belonged to my husband's mother. At least, that's how he always described it. He'd get up earlier than normal, move quietly through the kitchen so he wouldn't wake me, and head out carrying the same small overnight bag he'd owned long before we got married. It was never packed with much, just a book, occasionally a sweater, and once a container of soup that I assumed was meant for her. Nursing home food is awful, he told me one time. Nothing about it seemed unusual. It felt more like a sad responsibility he handled without complaint. His mother lived in a facility around 40 minutes away. I knew its name, but I had never actually visited. Early in our marriage, I asked whether I could come with him someday. He didn't exactly say no. He simply explained. She gets confused around new people. Another time he mentioned that the place itself was difficult to be in, residents wandering through hallways, televisions constantly blaring, the lingering smell of disinfectant mixed with overcooked vegetables. I believed him. Near the end of her life, my grandmother had lived somewhere much the same. After that, I stopped suggesting it. Whenever he returned from those visits, he never seemed emotional. He wasn't relieved, upset, or particularly affected. He'd just stay quiet for a few hours, and then everything would settle back into normal life. In my mind, I pictured an elderly woman lying in a narrow bed beside a window, someone who remembered him on some days and forgot him on others. It felt easier to imagine her slowly fading away than to ask too many questions. The day she arrived at our house was ordinary in every possible sense. Laundry tumbled in the dryer. A half-finished grocery list sat on the kitchen counter. Outside, the late winter light cast that dull grey tone over everything. When the doorbell rang, I assumed a package had arrived. Instead, I found an older woman standing on the porch, holding her purse carefully with both hands. She wasn't exactly frail, but she carried the look of someone who had traveled farther than expected and felt every mile of it. "Is this Daniel's house?" she asked. "Daniel is my husband." "Yes," I replied automatically. A small amount of tension seemed to leave her shoulders, as though she had finally set down something heavy. I thought it might be. There was uncertainty in the way she stood there, not stepping inside, but not seeming comfortable leaving either. "I'm his mother." For a moment, I assumed something had happened at the nursing home. "Oh, of course," I said quickly. "Please, come in." She stepped through the doorway slowly, looking around with polite interest rather than any sign of recognition. I made tea because it felt like the appropriate thing to do. Seated at the kitchen table, she wrapped her hands around the cup, as if trying to warm them. "I hope you don't mind me showing up like this," she said. "I had to take 2 buses. Did the facility know you were leaving?" I asked carefully. She looked genuinely confused. "What facility?" For a second, I thought I had heard her wrong. "The nursing home," I said gently. Instead of clearing up, her confusion only deepened. "I don't live in a nursing home." For a brief moment, I assumed this must be the confusion Daniel had talked about. Memory issues. Maybe selective ones. Keeping my voice calm, I nodded. "Daniel visits you every month," I said. Her expression didn't change into recognition. It shifted into something quieter. "No," she said after a pause. "He doesn't." The kitchen suddenly felt very still. I waited for the correction people often make midway through remembering something. It never came. "The last time I saw Daniel," she continued slowly, "was before I moved into the assisted living building. Not a nursing home. Assisted living. I kept expecting him to visit. At first, they told me families sometimes need time to adjust." Her fingers traced the edge of the teacup. After a while, I stopped asking. When Daniel came home that evening, he froze in the living room doorway. His mother was sitting on the couch. Not dramatically. Not confronting him. Simply there. The moment she saw him, her face brightened. "Oh, good," she said, relief softening her voice. "I found the place." He didn't respond immediately. His gaze shifted from her to me. The silence stretched so long that even the hum of the refrigerator seemed unusually loud. "You told me you were visiting her," I said quietly. He didn't deny it right away. Somehow, that made the room feel even smaller. His explanations arrived in pieces: misunderstandings, scheduling complications, the facility being disorganized. But the problem with small lies is that very ordinary questions can tear them apart. "What facility?" his mother asked once more. Daniel rubbed his forehead. "I just meant there isn't one," she said gently. Eventually, the truth surfaced. Not in some dramatic revelation. Just slowly worn into the open by the simple fact that both of us were sitting there listening. He had told me he visited his mother every month. He had told his mother that work made regular visits difficult. The monthly trips were real. They just weren't taking him to any nursing home. At first, I assumed there had to be something else behind it. Another family. An affair. A hidden apartment. But there wasn't. "I just couldn't do it," he finally admitted. "Do what?" "Visit her." His explanation came out awkwardly, the way people explain something they've only ever justified to themselves. Seeing her getting older. Watching her decline. Walking into a building that smelled of sickness and loneliness. It felt easier, he said quietly, to say I was going. His mother listened without interrupting him. What unsettled me most wasn't what he said. It was realizing that for 3 years he had maintained two entirely different realities. In one version, he was a devoted son. In the other, he simply wasn't. His mother finished her tea. Because now everyone could see whether he did or not. Our marriage didn't fall apart. There was no explosive argument. No dramatic shouting match. But something delicate settled between us. Trust, perhaps. Not gone. Just worn down. Like fabric that has been rubbed in the same spot for years. What bothered me most wasn't the lie itself. It was how effortlessly it had blended into our routine. How a simple monthly absence had been enough. And how the truth, after 3 quiet years, arrived the same way most truths eventually do. By ringing the doorbell.